Hello, Tina.
Hi.
How's it going in Valencia?
Now it's like more or less okay. The weather is fine, so everything is all right.
Good to hear. Can you tell shortly what happened? What happened in Valencia? Many people have no idea. A lot of people were checking the news yesterday and the day before yesterday because they were interested in election in the USA. But probably most people have no idea about the disaster, natural disaster, which hit Valencia a week ago.
Yeah, there was a flood here, like really strong flood. So the official reason is record amounts of rain. Um, just imagine the total amount of rainfalls that normally falls over the course of the year, and it just fallen in just 8 hours. This is what happened. And as a result, due to the flood waters, people were trapped in their homes. Cars were just swept away. Bridges were destroyed. Highways were destroyed. Bridges were just torn from their foundations. So, and at present moment, I think that there are, for now, there are more than 200 victims, and the number is increasing day by day. Yeah, with every day. And these are mainly people who were in underground parking at this moment, at the moment of flood, who were driving on the highways from Valencia to suburbs, and or those people who lived on the first floors or who were on the ground floors of the buildings.
When you told me about the flood, it did not really sound dangerous, because flood, that we kind of, most of us do not even know what it is, like as I told you before, sometimes Moscow is also gets flooded during summer rains, some parts of Moscow, but it's not as dangerous as what happened in Valencia. So we can show the map, or you can show the map how it looked from above, how the situation looked from above.
Okay, I think that we will show the map somewhere here during the editing
Yeah.
later. So, but before going into the details, yes, it's necessary to explain what the Valencian region looks like for better understanding. There is the Valencian region, which is very large, and it includes a great number of small towns that are located very close to each other. For example, in Moscow, it would be considered a district, but in Europe, it's a separate town. And also, there is the center of Valencia, Valencia itself, I mean. And many towns have metro system, and everywhere there is a well-developed transport networks. So it's easy to reach Valencia from many of these towns quickly by metro, by bus, or by car, and you also can travel between these towns. So normally it takes like from 10 minutes to 1 hour, no more. So, and it can be said that Valencia itself was not damaged. I mean, the capital part. It wasn't damaged, but its suburbs, they were completely destroyed.
Which cities were hit the hardest?
There are two cities, Paiporta and Chiva, that were most affected. And this is the place, by the way, where the royal family and the prime minister paid a visit a few days ago. Maybe you saw this
Yeah,
in the
yeah, I saw
news.
it in the news that they were literally attacked by citizens.
Yes, by citizen, by a crowd, because the crowd actually, so the people, the civilians, they are very unsatisfied with the actions of authorities. Um, so what happened? Why people are so angry? It is a very really very important aspect. This is the topic that concerns everyone right now. When everything happens, civilians responded to the problem much earlier than the local authorities. So the city has has a large number of volunteers now, and the government, of course, recently started doing something, and they provided buses for the transportation of volunteers between the cities to help. But before this happened, for the first 2 days, only volunteers worked and helped the local residents, to clean, or they just carried food and power banks and something between the cities, and they just walk there. So they carried something to help them. The authorities started doing something too late. And that's why, so the prime minister was attacked by the crowd when he arrived to Pai Porter. And I know that they even canceled the second city because at first, they wanted to visit two cities. It was a Pai Porter, which is very close to me, and the second one is Chivar. But they canceled after the first reaction of the crowd, so they decided that it would be better not to go there.
Makes sense. As far as I know, again from your words, government did not only react late, like the government did not only come late with their help, but they actually were very, very late with notifications.
Yes, that's true. At my first notification, I've got only at 8 p.m. And by that moment, some of the cities had been flooded already.
Who was the first person to tell you about the disaster?
My husband, because I was home, and I was lucky I was home, by the way, because normally I use these highways to go somewhere to Valencia, for example, to a gym or somewhere else. So my husband told me he was at work, and he called me and he said that he couldn't get home because some roads were flooded and it's impossible to drive. 1 hour later, he called me again and he told me not to go outside and be ready, prepare the documents, money, credit cards, and be ready to go to the upper floors if I see water outside. So, and at the beginning of all events, I understand that I greatly underestimated the seriousness. So when he called me at first time, I thought that it's just like, rainy weather.
Yeah,
But a few minutes later, after his second call, I started scrolling through Facebook and local WhatsApp chats, and people who lived in nearby in the Torrent. It's my area. They started like to panic in the messages and say that roads are under the water and things like this. And at that moment, I started realizing that probably it was something like more serious. So next day, after the flood, I got to the first closest destroyed highway and I was shocked. So it looked really bad because overturned cars with people inside and abandoned roads and flooded buildings. So it was a shock.
I remember you told me that your husband tried to kind of hide the reality in order to take care of your to protect you and to he was too caring about your mental state. So and then when you saw the situation with your own eyes, it was the first eyes opener. And also some other people revealed the seriousness of the situation, as far as I remember.
Yeah, that's true. I think everybody, I think everyone didn't fully understand what was happening because the population wasn't notified was notified very late. This is the first reason, and they simply didn't understand what was going on at that moment. And then internet disappeared, so we had no internet for like 3 days maybe, but some people still have central TV working, and I think people just didn't understand what was happening. So my husband, I really got the first information about the flood from my husband because he called me, but many people, they didn't get even a call, so they they didn't know anything, what was going on. They realized the fact of flood also much later. Then they saw everything with their own eyes. Then they could walk to the closest towns and see what was going on.
Oh, I can't imagine being completely unaware and then just like it's kind of you're sitting at home and you think that everything is all right, and then you go out and you see that half of your world was destroyed.
Yes, yeah, that's how it is.
You mentioned that the internet was down for several days, and how did people manage to get information?
Yeah, we had no internet for 3 days and no water, by the way. We had no water for some period of time. But sometimes the internet worked just for a call. It wasn't even internet, you just could call to someone, and that's it. So some people, as I said before, had central TV working, but really few people, and that's it. There was a moment it happened next day. Then I went out on the main street of Torrent, and I saw that a lot of people just walking and talking to each other. So it was like, I think it was the first time in my life that I saw such high level of live communication with each other. So they just transmitting the news from one city to another. So that was like this.
Going back to roots.
Yeah. Because we use devices all the time. We just text messages or call someone, but people don't talk too much,
So
even Spanish.
so Dana
But they're very
gave a
talkative.
chance to people to get to know their neighbors better.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry,
That's
I mean,
true.
yeah, that's irony, but I mean, that's true in a way. Uh, Torrent. You did not mention Torrent when you spoke about damaged cities. So, what does Torrent look like at the moment? Which areas suffered the most?
Fortunately, my area wasn't damaged too much. So I was lucky. It was dry and it is still dry. When the flood happened, I was home and I was really lucky that I wasn't that I was home. I didn't go anywhere. And some part of the Torrent was it was affected, but and we certainly have our own losses, but that's nothing compared to other cities. Uh, the nearby territories suffered a lot. So from Torrent now, you can see how people go, because we have the electricity here and we have water, everything like an internet. And some people just volunteers. They just go from Torrent to another cities and carry something, because here we have everything. But 5 kilometers away, people have nothing. So this is how it looks like. But Torrent looks more or less okay. It's all right.
Since you live in Torrent, and also you said that your husband, when the flood started, your husband was on the way home. So, how did the flood affected your life?
So actually, we have losses, but I don't know. Actually, it's nothing compared to those people who lost families, because there are a lot of people who lost families and pets and apartments, everything what they had. So we were lucky because only both of our cars were flooded. And my husband has a transport business, so his business started to to get some losses too, because for transport business you need roads, and there are no roads now. So this is the only thing what happened in my family. But there are families that where the situation is much worse.
Yeah, so comparing to that, losing cars is nothing. Uh, Going back to people, how does the government help victims now?
So they provided some public transport, as I said before, the buses for the volunteers to, to ride between the cities and to help local residents. And for now, they also sent militaries to help and policemen to help. But it happened only in 3 days. So from the very beginning, only volunteers helped. So government, of course, they did something, but it's nothing to compare it, to what volunteers did.
Like a drop in the ocean.
Yeah, like a drop in the ocean. Of course, now they the problem not like that they don't help. The problem is that they started doing very very late. They started rescue operations very late. This is the problem. So that's why now the local people, like, you know, the citizens, they are blaming the authorities for two things: for not warning them about the threat, and the second one for reacting extremely slowly to what was happening. This is the problem.
I know we are not politics and we have no idea how the system works, but on your opinion, why do you think it took so long for the government to notify citizens and to start helping?
So we cannot know for sure because we, like, you know, we don't know. You said right, we don't know how structure works. But I think this is the Spanish mentality. I think even they didn't realize at that moment so what was happening. And then, like, you know, so the system wasn't prepared for force majeures. I think that's because of that. At least this is what the government says us. The government had acknowledged that fact that they were too slowly. This is true.
What kind of things were damaged the most?
Roads, highways, almost all roads and highways were damaged. So there is from Torrent, there is only one road to Valencia now that is still functioning, you know, but so the traffic is very heavy. So I tried to get to Valencia just once, and it took me 1 hour there, 1 hour and a half there, and 2 hours and a half back. But normally I can overcome this distance for like 10 minutes by car. So because yes, almost all of the cities around in surrounding areas are trying to use this road. So can you imagine the amount of cars on the road here at the same time? So bridges, highways, roads, and metro, and people's residence, like apartments, houses, everything around, cars.
And since the government and since authorities have already started making statements, is there any understanding of like how long will it take to repair and rebuild the roads, the metro, and the other transportation means?
So the official information says that it probably will take like 6 months, for example, only to recover the metro, from 4 to 6 months. But when it comes to Spanish mentality, I told you many times, I think that they are very slowly, they are not in a hurry of doing something. Even when the flood happened, they were not very hurried to do something like, you know, quickly. And I think if we talk about the recovery, probably it will take longer, it will take more time than they promise us. So I think that the population will go back to the normal life in just 1 year.
Yeah, in about 1 year. That hopefully in about 1 year.
Hopefully.
And even though the even though what happened is terrible, and I mean terrible does not even express the real situation, but I don't think that it's possible to find any words enough to describe the awfulness of situation. But there is one thing which I kind of think it's a hope, at least for me. One good thing about all this is that how people reacted and still are reacting, and that Dana actually caused, like, kind of woke people up, and they started to help each other rather than caring only about themselves, which would be easy to imagine in our modern life when most people are too focused on themselves. But actually what happened is quite the opposite. People started thinking about others, started caring about others, and started even taking actions to help others.
Yeah, that's true. So there is a very popular expression now. If you start reading the Spanish news, it can be translated like "town rescues the town." It means that people from one town started to help people from other town, And in most situations, they don't help, like, relatives or friends. They go to help some, like, random people, unknown people, strangers for them. And this is the good thing about Spanish mentality.
So humanity is
Still here.
still here. It's not just a word. It is still here. Let's finish that on that positive place. And thank you very much for sharing that real view of the situation, of what is happening. I hope that this video will be informative and will show the real situation in Valencia.
All right.
All right,
Okay.
thank you very much.